Hello everybody, Lisa Slavin here with our transition coach Justin Kraft from North Hardin High School. We are socially distant, so we're going to go ahead and remove our masks so that you guys can hear us a little bit better. All right, welcome Justin.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time being here. We wanted to talk to parents and students about transition readiness in Hardin County schools. We've been promoting our career pathways for a long time, and I know North has a lot of kids participating in our career pathways, but we never cease to find kids or parents who say, oh, I didn't know about all these things that we offered. And really, we're going to go over all the pieces of transition readiness today, which is our district's initiative to follow Kentucky guidelines and getting students ready to transition out of high school into whatever path that may be, whether it's college readiness or it's career readiness. So Justin, talk to me about what transition readiness looks like at North Hardin.
Well, first of all, transition readiness is not only if, but how a kid is essentially prepared for the next step after high school. And whether that's showing academic readiness by meeting benchmarks on an ACT or coming in on the back end and maybe having to meet a benchmark on another test like a Coyote, or in the career and technical world, maybe it's passing an industry certification for one of the 36 career pathways that are available, through North Hardin and maybe potentially through EC3 if kids move on to there. Ideally, students should complete at least 4 courses, we say, in order to be a completer in a particular career pathway, in order to have all that knowledge necessary to pass that industry cert or that end of program assessment. We know that's not possible sometimes, and we take those by the 1s and 2s, but for the most part, that's what we want from kids when they're looking to be career ready, we'll call it. But, beyond that, transition readiness, I don't think we have to limit ourselves just to that definition of what does the Kentucky Department of Education say transition readiness is. Beyond that, that's working through work ethic certification with our kids, those grade 8 standards that folks are made aware of through their classes at North Hardin and the rest of the schools for that matter. And now, as you're well aware, being rolled out at earlier levels.
Yes, absolutely.
In Hardin County schools at the elementary level and the middle school level. So I think that Hardin County does a really good job of that just as a whole. Not only what does transition readiness look like in terms of being academic ready and career ready, but really preparing students socially and emotionally as well to give that work ethic that employers in the community are looking so hard for. So at North Hardin, I feel like that's kind of our snapshot of transition readiness.
Absolutely. It sounds like there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. And parents and students, if you heard Mr. Kraft mention work ethic certification, that is starting to be rolled out K through 12. So we've worked with businesses to help prepare students for the workplace and what kind of skills are they looking for, what do they need to be ready to go into the career force and be as employable as possible. So one of the parts he mentioned of transition readiness is career readiness, and we know that almost everybody is going to have a career at some point. So you said that there are 36 different pathways that students can take. We have some students that do more than one pathway. So what are some resources available at North to help students make sure that they are career ready and ready for whatever career path they're interested in?
Well, first of all, I'm going to point out those grade 8 standards and work ethic certification again, because we know that part of that component in those end of program assessments for completing a pathway, so to speak, we know that part of that deals with soft skills, employability skills. And the more familiar that kids can get with those grade 8 standards and really how do I need to act and behave as an employee, as a member of the workforce going forward, that's going to pay huge dividends for kids. So that's going to be my first resource, is really identifying through the work ethic certification and the grade 8 standards just what it means to be employable. Now, as far as being specific to specific pathways, it makes total sense that the first place that a student should stop should be their teacher in that pathway. That teacher is going to have a wealth of resources available to the student, mainly because all of these pathways are a little bit different. So who's going to be the expert in that? I have that broad range knowledge of all of the pathways as a whole, but who's going to be able to give you better knowledge into culinary classes as your foods and nutrition teacher at North Hardin, right?
Yep.
So those teachers have a wealth of practice exams for certifications, any and everything that's available to them, even through the professional organizations that kind of lead those industry certs and those particular pathways. The teacher is going to be the main source for that. So that's going to be the first place to stop, is going to be their individual teachers in those pathways. And if students need any help getting hooked up with a particular teacher because they maybe haven't started a pathway yet, but they're interested in finding out more, they can stop by the guidance office and see me, and I'd be happy to chat with them and lead them in the right direction.
Absolutely. And students, if you heard about work ethic certification, by the time you're a senior, that should grant you opportunities to do things like a mock interview with people in our community and business. And we do have businesses around the district that have agreed to guarantee you an interview if you've earned work ethic certification. So that's definitely something you want to work on the whole time you're going through high school, and make sure you get those work ethic cords by the time you're ready to graduate, because it's going to help you in the workplace. Now, the other thing that you mentioned was industry certifications. What are those? Why would we want those?
Sure. So in individual areas and individual career pathways, in many of these, there are certifications that students can get just in that are specific to that area. If I want to work, if I want to eventually be a car mechanic, and I make my way over in that pathway to EC3 eventually by the end, I want to be certified to walk in day one and be able to work on automobiles. And those industry certs will allow you the opportunity as a student to do that. And that's just one of the many examples. So there are two types of, I guess we can call them, assessments that can take place toward the end of a career pathway. The one that's provided by the Department of Education would be the end of program assessment that's available when you've taken enough courses in a particular pathway.
Okay.
And then these industry certifications, those are more recognized, again, as the name indicates, by industry, so by the main industry that's involved with that pathway. And those certifications are just going to be resume builders and really key preparation for students as they make their way into the workforce.
So parents and students, if you guys are interested in, you're at home, you're talking about your goals after you leave high school. If you're interested in going right into the workforce, these industry certifications are going to make it to where you can start work right away. You don't need additional training. You don't need necessarily additional certifications. You'll be able to go right to work if that's your goal. Now, if your goal is college per se, some of these industry certifications also have college credit tied to them. Every single one of our end of pathway assessments have college credit tied to them. So even if you're wanting to do college instead of going straight to the workforce, you still want to pursue these career pathways. So talk to us about college readiness.
Sure. Well, as it relates on the career side, if students have any questions about where they can go to get some college credit for some of those end of program assessment passing scores, stop by my office at North and I'll be happy to go over those agreements that we have that will show you what school you can attend and how much college credit you can get for those, by the way. But in the traditional sense, college readiness, essentially the first line of defense on that is how well did you do on your ACT? That's the state recognized test. Here in Kentucky, and we know that that's a national test. So meeting benchmarks in mathematics, and then a combination of your English and reading scores. If you meet particular scores on those ACT exams, then that's going to, quote unquote, make you college ready, we say. As far as resources go for helping you to be college ready, we're really fortunate here in Hardin County that the central office folks here in Hardin County have taken the time and really the financial resources to purchase CERT for our students here in Hardin County. And CERT is a program that all students have access to in our high schools. They're going to take practice ACT exam, and then once that data is in the program, students have the ability to go in and find specifically generated activities and tutorials for their own test data. So if you're a student that really wants to maximize your ACT score, you know your next step is going to college, and you really want to look at raising that ACT score to help you out on scholarships and such, then you're going to want to use CERT to the best of your ability, and you're going to want to use it. I'm going to say all the time. You know, if that's really your end game, then that's what we're looking for from you. You know, you're going to want to use CERT, go through those tutorials. It'll help you with even down to the specific subcategory within all of those different ACT tests. It'll help you with specific questions, let you know why you missed it, give you more examples. So students in Hardin County are extremely fortunate in that respect to be able to use a program like CERT. So that's the biggest resource.
Nice.
Now, resource number 2, talk to your classroom teachers, students. You know, they're going to be the professionals in that content area, and they would love nothing more than to work with you outside of class time on really, you know, giving you one-on-one attention on upping your ACT game as well. And beyond that, you know, my former position was in the classroom as a math teacher,
yeah.
and fully aware of helping kids realize their dreams and going to college. And by all means, stop by my office. I love talking to kids about their next step and what they want to do after
yeah.
they get done at the high school level.
So parents, you don't have to find an ACT tutor or anything like that. We have one built in through this CERT program that we've purchased. Now, is that only something that students would be utilizing at school with their teacher, or?
Oh, they could absolutely utilize it on their own, and we encourage them to utilize it on their own. Again, teachers will utilize it some in their classes, but that shouldn't be the end-all be-all. If a student really is focused on wanting to maximize that score for scholarships and getting ready for the next level, then they're going to want to dedicate some time to it on their own. And you know, I don't mean to make it sound like you need to be doing this 37 hours a week. It's really easy if you just kind of, you know, map out a dedicated time every week. Say, you know, I'm going to work on CERT on Tuesday nights, you know, just, you know, for an hour and a half, something. You know, do it for a few weeks in a row, and you'll be surprised because the data suggests with CERT that it is a proven tool that increases ACT scores for kids.
Now, seniors, if you guys have already utilized CERT last year and you've worked through some of those videos and tried to figure out more information, your ACT score is still not where you want it to be, or like he said, you just want to get it higher for scholarship opportunities. If we have, you know, a kid who's really wanting to work more, are they still doing any kind of after-school programs? I know with COVID, things are a little different right now.
It's at this moment a little up in the air.
Okay.
Also, with trying to accommodate A group kids, kind of staying with A group kids and B group kids in the hybrid schedule. You know,
right.
So still working out the details to that. You know, with our ESS, you know, situation, we can't really do it the way that it's been done in years past, but just know that those things are being talked about, and there will be something made available in that vein. We just don't exactly know what that is yet.
And then if you're a senior and your scores still aren't quite there, and you're wanting to go into college, we do have some testing opportunities for you that you could come see Mr. Kraft about as well, so that you can hopefully get into college without having to take any of those remedial classes and get scores that will show that you're ready to go ahead and start college. What is that test they should be listening for or come see you about?
Absolutely, that's the Coyote test.
Okay.
And students that, and I will even say, if you know you're college bound or your goal is to be college bound and you haven't met an ACT benchmark, yes, by all means come and see me. I have plenty of stories from years past of kids that did not think they were going to go to college and never even thought it was an option for them, and really dismissed the idea of getting ready for it. And 5 years later or less, they would be back in the classroom as a young adult saying, hey, the factory I work for wants me to be the lead on this line, and they're going to send me to school, and if I get my associate's degree, they're going to give me this job. I have to have a math credit through it, and I didn't meet the math benchmark. So, you just never know what opportunities are out there. You might not think that you're going to be taking classes after high school, but just never say never. Never dismiss that totally.
We want to prepare students for any transition path, and maybe you don't know what that transition path is, so let us help you be both college ready and career ready before you graduate high school. That way all doors are open to you. Now, the district does have an initiative going with our transition readiness. We have, as Mr. Kraft said, we have 36 pathways. We're continually adding stuff so that we can offer as many possibilities to students to help them in their transition goals. Currently, we are working to add even more co-op placements. So if you're a student and you want to get involved in co-op so that you can graduate college and career ready, you can have industry certifications, you can have work ethic certifications and be highly employable, that last piece of the puzzle would be having some work experience, and then you're all around about the most employable person coming off that stage at graduation. So how can students get involved in co-op if they're not already and get that experience?
Well, first of all, co-op is meant to be kind of the capstone at the end of a particular career pathway. So, job one for a student would be, if you really want to do co-op, you're going to have to find some type of career pathway probably to get engaged with early on in your high school career. Make sure you've completed enough classes in that. Of course, our recommendation is going to be that you've had 3 in order to do co-op. If you're interested in a co-op opportunity and you don't have 3 classes in, you can stop by my office and we can talk about maybe what some of your options are. But again, the preferred way is going to be for you to have had some career and technical ed classes in a particular pathway that'll set you up for a co-op opportunity. But then once you've satisfied that, come to the office and talk to me about it. We know that there are multiple opportunities available in co-op with kids. One of those opportunities is, a lot of you all out there, students, you folks are working already. And sometimes we can work with an employer and we can hook it up to where you might get some extra hours with your employer and get some academic credit for it, and you're getting paid while you're doing it. That's really a tough, that's tough to beat right there.
Right.
So that would be a situation where we might be able to help you out in a current working situation. If you're a student though that does not have any work lined up and you want more work, come talk to me. I'm going to work with Ms. Slavin and others, and we're going to work through some employment agencies, some local employment agencies, which I'll be happy to talk to you about and look to find you a placement. Of course, with co-op, I have to say this, it is preferred that you have your own means of transportation in order to get to and from your workplace if you decide to do co-op. But we're currently looking at some opportunities to where if enough of you show up and show some interest and enough of you sign up and are interested in working with one of our partners, we might be able to arrange some transportation for students. Again, we can't promise it immediately. It requires enough people showing interest, and that's what we want. We want to grow co-op, because what better opportunity to prepare kids for life after high school than saying, you're going to finish your high school credit and you're going to be able to work while you're doing it. You're going to get paid while you're going to high school. I don't know a better situation than that. That just sounds great to me.
I'm pretty sure parents are sitting there going, why didn't we have all this when I was in school?
Exactly.
We definitely want to make opportunities better for each generation that's coming up. So there are tons of opportunities ready for you right here in Hardin County Schools, whether it's prepping you for college, prepping you for career, or both, because a lot of you will need to do both. Some of our career pathways, require you to go on to college and get those degrees. But then to be able to get started in that job field, to network and make money while you're in school, let us help you make high school work for you and make your time with us here in Hardin County Schools valuable. So to our students that are sitting there right now going, wait a minute, I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of all of these, or parents that are questioning if their kid has taken advantage of all this, if they're not sure that they're transition ready, what do you think they need to do at this point, Mr. Kraft?
Well, first I would recommend, if you're not transition ready or you're not on track to be transition ready, first, don't get down on yourselves, is what I would tell students. I think a lot of students have a tough start to their high school career and get toward the end. They may not be quite set up as well as some of their classmates, and the first thing that they want to do is beat themselves up, and I would say no. Please don't do that, because this is all about the growing process. We're growing young adults here. So take it easy on yourself and give yourself a little bit of grace.
Right.
Second thing would be come by the office and see me, because what we need to discuss is, okay, you're not on track right now to be transition ready. What are your goals after high school? That's the next discussion that needs to happen. And yes, we want you in the eyes of North Hardin High School and the Kentucky Department of Education to be transition ready, but there's no more important conversation to be had than one-on-one with somebody you can trust about, golly, what do you want to do when you get out of here? What are your goals in life? What are your aspirations? And until we know that, that's, every other discussion we have is going to kind of be a moot point. So come see me. Let's talk about what your plans are after school. See if we can get you in some classes that you might be interested in that you didn't have an opportunity to take. And really, at the end of the day, we know that we have some opportunities to maybe give an industry certification or to test, to students that have not necessarily had all of the courses in that pathway. Again, ideally you would take all of the courses,
right,
and that would set you up for the best shot at passing an industry cert. But if we find out that a student finds a subject they're really interested in and they want to give it a shot with not all of the classes having been taken, then we have opportunities that we can look at there where a student could take an industry certification and perhaps become transition ready by the time they leave high school. So all of that's going to come, though, with a discussion, with somebody you can trust. Myself, one of the wonderful guidance counselors at North Hardin, we would be happy to sit and talk with students about, what do you want the rest of your high school experience to look like, and how is that going to set you up for life after high school? That's what needs to happen. Dialogue, and don't be scared about it. Come talk to us. We're not going to eat you. We're going to just be as interested as we can possibly be in helping you, the student, find your way through the end of your high school career, and once you graduate, just having the best shot of living a meaningful life, after high school. That's what we care about.
Absolutely. And you heard it from Mr. Kraft yourself. It's not over till it's over. So come and see him and see what kind of opportunities they have available for you. Don't think just because I'm a senior it's too late. And, if you're a freshman, you haven't started a pathway, or you need more information on some of this stuff, doesn't matter what grade you're in, come see him. So parents, I hope this will prompt a discussion for you to have with your student at home about their goals and their future goals, because as he said, everything kind of revolves around what their interest is and what do they want to do, what do they see for that future. And if you're not sure yet, let's have that discussion so that you can try out some classes and see what might work best for you. So my fellow Trojans, this is Mr. Kraft. He has taken over for me. So those of you that are familiar with seeing me in that transition office and you came down with all your questions about scheduling and testing, all my 9th graders who just came over from the middle school that are used to seeing me, Mr. Kraft is now in my position. I'm still available. Feel free to email me if you need to get a hold of me. But he is right there in the counseling office, ready to talk to all of you guys about transition readiness. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you, Mr. Kraft, for helping us with this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.